This is the Culture Study Podcast, and I'm Anne Helen Peterson.
I'm Maggie O'Farrell, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm the author of several books, including Hamnet, and my new book is called Land.
Maggie, you have so many fans in our larger Culture Study newsletter podcast universe. So before we talk about your new book, I have to ask, what has it been like to watch Hamnet become what it has become? And I know you were a co-producer, co-writer on the script. It's one of my favorite movies of the last year, and not just because Paul Mescal is my boyfriend. And I love his large thighs so much. But yeah, the last and you're gearing up to release this new book, but also going through awards season. What has this been like?
Well, it's thighs aside. It's been extremely surreal and really wonderful. It's not something that I ever expected would happen to me. I certainly had no thought at all that I would be invited to the Oscars, that I would have to go shopping for a frock. So no, it was all extremely surprising. Every step on the way, right from when Chloe Zhao asked me to write the screenplay with her. Every single step was a surprise. So it's been a wild ride, and it's been so fun to dip my toe into that world, and just to see it all up close has been so interesting. That just to give you some idea of how weird it was, I was I'm just going to say this sentence. It's a very weird sentence. I was queuing for a limousine at the Oscars, as you do. I'm just going to say it, and I was standing talking to my friend who's with me, and I thought to myself, that's really weird. That man behind me sounds exactly like George Clooney. That's so weird. And then I turned around and I thought, that's because it is George Clooney.
Oh my
God.
God.
As a kind of civilian, it took me a really long time to kind of catch up with that. And I thought, God, he sounds so like him. It's really uncanny. And then I thought, well, of course it's him.
He strikes me as one of those people that is absolutely as handsome and stunning, just movie star handsome in person.
Yeah, I think he is actually. There are some people that you see him off screen, you think, ooh, they look a bit funny. But no, I can report safely from the front lines of the Oscars that he is actually as handsome in real life as he is. I can also tell you safely that Chase Infinity is literally the most beautiful human being I've ever seen in my life.
Gosh.
She's extraordinary.
Gorgeous. So gorgeous.
She glows. There's something, I think she has an inner light bulb. She kind of glows. She's amazing.
I think it's
and she told me she liked my hair, which I was so starstruck. I was kind of, thanks very
much. So one of the reasons when I heard that Chloe Zhao was attached to the film, I automatically, I knew that it was in good hands. The writer, her movie from 2017 is one of my favorite movies of the last decade.
Amazing film.
She just has such a sense of place that works, it's just an incredible deft touch with it. And I was thinking about this as I've been reading your new book, which to me has is so deep in a sense of place. And it's about place, it's about mapping, it's about all of these things. So can you talk a little bit about the new book, which will have come out the day before this podcast comes out?
With Land, I was setting out, I think, to do two things. Firstly, I wanted it to be a story about a family who is trying to, or endeavouring to survive and thrive in the long shadow of the Great Hunger in Ireland in the middle of the 19th century. But I also wanted it to be, I wanted to write the story, the entire story of a country, the entire history of a country via one plot of land and all the different people who in waves come to live on that land.
My sense from reading the acknowledgements is that some of this story are some of the stories that are passed down. I think your great grandfather, is some of that family lineage interwoven into this?
Yeah, so I'm very interested in this novel in the idea of myth and what makes up myth. So our family has a myth, or had a myth, that my great-great-grandfather worked on the very early maps of Ireland. And I had always known this, but I'd never really found out how much of it was true. I think all myth, folklore myth, all has at least a grain of truth in it. So I went to find out whether or not this was true. So I had searched through many, many archives of the British Ordnance Survey, which are on Ireland, which are based in Dublin. And I did find that actually, yes, it was true, and that he'd started working for the British Ordnance Survey in 1848. And if anyone knows a lot about Irish history, they will know that that was 2 years into the Great Famine. And so that date just stopped me in my tracks because I couldn't, for the life of me, imagine what that must have been like. So they were revising the maps because of this huge cataclysm that had hit the country, both natural disaster, political, social, disaster, and the population had completely. So many people had died. So many people had been forced to leave. The physical and human geography of Ireland had completely changed because of this disaster.
Yes.
I was just trying to imagine what it was like redrawing the maps, doing those revisions to the maps, what that must have been for somebody who lived through that. So that was kind of the spark for the novel. I mean, it is a novel. I've used what little I can find out really about my great-great-grandfather and his son, my great-grandfather, as the kind of starting point for the book. And his son, my great-grandfather, that had a very interesting trajectory in that he became a Jesuit, which isn't something that you just fall into. It's something that you have to dedicate your life to, and it's many, many years of training.
Yeah.
And then we know that he left being a Jesuit and he came full circle and became a mapper like his father. And that's always really fascinated me. Why would someone do that? It's such a thing to become a Jesuit. And in Ireland, it's such a huge thing to leave the church.
Right.
So, yeah, that really fascinated me. So on those kind of very bare bones of a narrative, I built the novel.
I also think that The Great Hunger is something that, at least for American audiences, we all know about it. And oftentimes, if your family has some Irish heritage, you know that that's part of why they left Ireland for the United
Yeah.
States or for Canada, but don't know the textures of it. And reading the book, you get such a sense of the devastation, how just where bodies had to accumulate, how entire swaths of cabins, places where people lived in the tenements, how they were wiped out. They really did remap the landscape in a way that I hadn't considered. And it's that's part of what grips you, I think, in the novel is this new texture to the information, to this history.
I mean, the statistics alone, bald though they are, speak volumes. So between the years of 1846 and 1852, they think it's a conservative estimate to say that 1 million people died, and a further 1 million people were evicted and emigrated, mostly, quite a lot of them to Canada and the United States, as you say. I mean, there are some historians that say it's far, far larger than that. It's quite difficult to know. But those numbers alone are so bald, but that's roughly what happened. But I think what interested me in the novel is actually the people who survived and stayed.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to imagine what life was like in those years afterwards, directly in those years afterwards, how these people who were devastated and traumatized and had lost, most of their families in a lot of cases, what they did, how they continued to live, how they picked themselves up and carried on. And I think that was the major theme for me for writing the book. And I wanted to write about the children.
Mm-hmm.
So the workhouses were set up, and it was a rule that you had to give up your land in order to go into the poorhouse, the workhouse, to get so-called relief. And you were separated. So children were separated from parents and vice versa. And often the records that were kept were not very accurate. So there was a whole generation of children who had no real idea where they were from and who they belonged to. They were completely dispossessed. So their homes no longer existed because they'd probably been evicted. And some of them didn't know who their parents were. And there was one story that really haunted me, was that a little girl who went in, and she was from Killarney, and the wardens of the poorhouse put her down as from Killarney. And so her father, who'd emigrated to America, came back to Ireland, and he knew that his family had died, and he knew that there was one child who remained, and he went to the poorhouse and he said, "I'm here for my daughter who's from Killarney." And because they had made an administrative error, they said, "No, she's not here." So he went back to the States, and without her.
I just read the part of the book where you slightly alter that story.
Yes.
To have it to do with the girl's name, and what devastation.
I know, it's awful. Even thinking about it now, it gives me a kind of horrible, horrible shiver down my spine.
Yeah.
That poor child, that poor father, and it's just so awful. This kind of huge, in the cauldron of North America, you would never be able to find him again.
Yeah. We did an episode last year with Carolina Donahue that was about like the Irishification of pop culture and just talking about like why there is so much Irish pop culture that like seeps into the global atmosphere. Like why basically Ireland punches way, way, way above its weight for a country of its size. And I highly recommend that episode for anyone. But
I'm going to listen. It sounds amazing.
yeah, and she's so funny.
Mm.
But we wanted to have you on to talk about something that I think our readers, our listeners, absolutely love Irish Lit. I love Irish Lit. I especially love Irish cinema. I have I have a PhD in media studies and took a bunch of Irish Lit and film classes. But I also think that my exposure is still very much filtered through the like, oh, well, this was nominated for the Booker. And then so this is what I'm reading. So we wanted to have someone who just much more panoramic knowledge, exposure, loves within Irish Lit as a whole. So we have a bunch of questions from readers who say some of the pieces that they love, like that some of the types of work that they love, Irish and otherwise, and then we're going to come up with suggestions for them. So,
Okay.
Does that sound good? Okay.
Sounds great. It sounds like a kind of game show. I like it.
Sort
In the
of.
wheel.
Oh, and also paid subscribers will get links to everything we recommend in the show notes. Okay, let's start with this question from Jacqueline.
I am the Irish fiction superfan of my book club and was so excited to hear you were planning this episode. I have especially loved slow, beautiful literary fiction reads that are evocative of a specific time and place in history, like Trespasses by Louise Kennedy, These Days by Lucy Caldwell, and of course, anything by Claire Keegan. What else in this genre can you recommend? I also adored the funny and heartfelt memoir, Did You Hear Mammy Died? By Seamus O'Reilly. And overall, I feel like there is so much amazing art and writing being created right now by people who came of age at the end of the Troubles. What else am I missing?
Well, I've got to commend her on her taste. That's amazing. What a brilliant list. I would prescribe for her Donal Ryan, who I really love. He's a writer from Limerick, and I think his earliest book is called The Spinning Heart. I think that was his first book, and it's an incredible, brilliant evocation of modern Ireland seen through a small community. And if you like it, which I know that you will, there are lots. He's written several other books, all of which are slightly interlinked. They're not really sequels, but they are about the same community, and you see the same characters pop up, and you find a little bit what happens to them. So his writing is so beautiful and deeply, deeply satisfying, and I think that's a perfect fit for you. I would also say you should try John McGann. He's passed on now, but he wrote an amazing novel called Amongst Women. I think that's his most brilliant book.
What is it about?
It's about a family, and in particular, a really terrifying father who kind of has a hold over his children, and some of them kind of succumb to his charms and stay in his orbit, and others have to wrest themselves free. He's a very, very chilling anti-hero, and it's an incredible book.
The other one that I would suggest is Niall Williams's This Is Happiness, which is about a very small community in 1958 as electrification is coming. And I think sometimes people forget that electrification did not like come everywhere in the world in like, I don't know, like sometime in the 1920s or something. Like there's a very long spread. There's still not electrification in many places, but 1958, like a really fascinating sort of hinge point in terms of like coming into modernity, that sort of thing. And Williams just writes about the land with an incredible evocativeness that I always appreciate. And it's like, it makes you feel very happy without being saccharine in any way. I think that's how I would describe it.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
The Culture Study Podcast is sponsored by ZBiotics. So I want to tell you about this game-changing product that I use anytime I'm going out for more than one drink, basically more than 1.5 drinks. It's called pre-alcohol. So for me, after 1.5 drinks, I just do not bounce back the next day the way that I used to, especially when that event is going to see Brandi Carlile and Bonnie Raitt at the Gorge and you get home at 2:30 at night. So I knew that combination of not a lot of sleep and more than 1.5 drinks was maybe not going to make me feel great the next day. And then I had to drive home 4.5 hours the next day with friends, but still 4.5 hours. You need to be on top of your game. So before my first drink, I took some ZBiotics pre-alcohol. It's a probiotic drink, and it's the first genetically engineered probiotic that was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut, and it's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your very first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Like a lot of people I know, I heard about pre-alcohol, and I was like, this sounds like, I don't know, the advice that I got when I was in college, that you should just like take a tablespoon of salt and have that after you've drank like a ton. But at this point, I've used it several times and it actually really helps. Just go to zbiotics.com/culturestudy to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use code culturestudy at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/culturestudy and use code culturestudy at checkout for 15% off. Today's episode is sponsored by Jones Road Beauty. So another thing that I used when I went to see Brandi Carlile at the Gorge was my Jones Road Miracle Balm. I love it. It just gives you this like very slight, like sun-kissed look. There are little packets that you can get that have 2 different colors. I like using the larger one. You open it up, you just kind of put your fingers in it, and then you just dab the corners of your cheeks. Melody, you use it for like, do you put it on your lips? I think you do.
Yeah, lips and cheeks.
I need to start using it on my lips because that's and also I needed some for being in the sun and wind for that long. Like maybe then I wouldn't have these chapped lips that I have if I used my Miracle Balm. I use it seriously every day. It gives me that no makeup look that I personally love. And it's super straightforward, perfect for travel, all sorts of things. And the best part about Jones Road Beauty is that all of their products are actually good for your skin. Jones Road is modern day makeup that's clean, strategic, and multifunctional for effortless routines. And for a limited time, our listeners are getting a free gift on their first purchase when they use code CULTURE at checkout. Just head to jonesroadbeauty.com and use code CULTURE at checkout. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that Culture Studies sent you. Okay, next question comes from Allison, and Melody's going to read it.
Looking for fiction similar to Anne Cleeves and Tana French. Well-written, compelling stories, complex characters, strong sense of place. Bonus points for good audiobooks. Doesn't have to be mystery or crime fiction or a series, but the kind of book that you just have to stay up late or call in sick to finish. Clear would be an example that isn't genre fiction.
Okay.
I loved it. I thought it was a great book.
Same.
Yeah, I would say it's not exactly a mystery, but it's a kind of like a literary puzzle in a way.
Yeah.
And it's Haven by Emma Donoghue.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I love this book. And I mean, I love Emma Donoghue. I would read a shopping list if she was going to publish one. But this is about 3 religious people who are they travel out into in a kind of terrifyingly small boat into the sea to set up a religious community on a very remote island. And I loved it because it really surprised me 2 or 3 times. I love books that there is a massive right angle and I didn't see it coming. And this book does that. And without giving too much away, there is a really interesting mystery at the heart of it.
So I'm glad you brought up Emma Donoghue because my recommendation here was going to be The Wonder by her.
Oh, that's interesting. Yes, that's true.
Which is about, how do I describe this? Basically, it's like 1850s small town, and an English
Post-famine.
nurse. Yes, post-famine. And an English nurse. Yes, so there's all of the like discourses about the famine and hunger and
Mm.
how we control or can't control hunger going on in there. But it's an English nurse comes to watch over this 11-year-old girl who stopped eating on her 11th birthday 4 months before. And you watch as like the nurse has to be like believes that like the family is conspiring to try to make this like to make a I don't know, like a miracle essentially. But then
Mm.
how do you say that? Like do you believe the 11-year-old? Do you believe like is she actually existing on manna from heaven? She also seems very important as in terms of like a figure in the community. Like her
Mhm.
surviving seems very important. So yeah, so just Emma Donoghue also for people who might like be like, "Oh, that name's so familiar." She wrote Room,
Mhm.
and I think is just particularly skilled at crafting these sorts of compulsive and unlocked, like the narrative unlocks slowly for you, I guess is how I would
Yeah.
say it.
And she loves
Yeah.
to pull the rug out from under your feet, I think, in a very, very
Yes.
satisfying way.
Yes. Do you have any other ones there? You don't have to. It's okay. We have so many
What else
questions.
did I have? God, so I actually had the Wonder on a bit later on. No.
You can suggest that one for later too. We can have it and come up in many places.
Yeah. No, I think that was my only mystery one, I think.
Okay. All right. Next question is from Amy.
I am looking for any sort of family drama in the vein of Instructions for a Heat Wave or This Must Be the Place. I love anything with a large cast of characters and lots of people making lots of choices and dealing with the fallout of those choices. I definitely would prefer it to be a little less bleak than The Bee Sting, though.
Okay. Irish family dramas that aren't too
I
bleak.
mean,
I feel like
how long
mine are
have you
all
got?
bleak.
How long have you got, really? I mean, there's so many amazing, a lot of novels are about family because I think family is a very important thing in Irish culture. I think one of my recent discoveries and a real favourite of mine is a debut novel by Sean Farrell, no relation, and it's called Frogs for Watchdogs, and it's mainly set from a child's point of view, and he is living in a slightly sort of rackety lifestyle because his parents have separated, and he's living with his mum on a farm, and it's about the very very slow building of a relationship between him and his mother's new boyfriend.
Oh.
And there was it's a very very moving book, and there were several times when I was a bit worried about this new man coming into the household, and I thought, where I don't know if
Yeah.
where's this
Yeah. Yeah.
novel
Yeah.
going, but it's nothing like that, thank goodness, because I would find that a bit disturbing. But it's a really beautiful book about the kind of making of an unusual family.
Why do you think that family is so central to Irish literature? Like, I think there are a lot of different places that have family as like a centerpiece, a narrative centerpiece, but say like British lit, I don't think so. I don't think the family is central. Um,
I
but
mean,
yeah, what do you think?
families are a ready-made plot, really, aren't they? I
Yes.
think for any
Yes.
any novelist, if you have a family of five, like the one, say, I grew up in my own, family now, you've got, I think it's at 25 different relationships. My maths is terrible at this kind of thing, but
Yeah. Yeah.
and so all you need to do is just kind of put five characters in a room and set them going. So I think it is, but I think families tend to be large in Ireland, and there's quite a lot of literature which is about ownership and land, and the farm who inherits and all that. I mean, it's a very very potent narrative, I think. I mean, but there are so many. Yeah, I think for families, and Enright is absolutely brilliant at
Oh,
writing.
I was just you're going to steal all my Anne Enright
Well, we can talk,
recommendations.
and then Coltoy Bean. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
Blackwater Lightship. That's amazing. I mean, it's yeah. There's so much. There's so
Well,
much, but
and
just
even
those.
Colm Tolbean's The Master, which is about Henry James, like
Yeah,
is about being closeted. It's about like being a very famous writer, but it's also ultimately about family, and it's about his like sadness that he can't be with his sister. Like it's a family novel as well.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Another one which I really loved is called The Dinner Party by Sarah Gilmartin.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of this.
which is a really fabulous book about a very, very complicated family and lots of people arriving and leaving, and the sort of effect of the choices of different generations has a kind of knock-on effect on the next generation. It's a very, very satisfying book that you can sink yourself into.
Oh, and similar to Brooklyn and the follow-up Long Island about like what happens with like those who stay and those who leave, kind of.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
The Anne Wright that I love is, I mean, the most famous of hers probably is The Gathering. But it's pretty bleak, I would say. And
Yeah.
then the other one that comes to mind, actually, I haven't read it in so long, but it was one of my favorite books that I read in college is Patty Clark Ha 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 by Roddy Doyle.
Oh, yes. A wonderful book.
Um,
Yeah.
Wonderful book. And my memory of reading it is like almost the same as when I read A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. Like you feel so transported into this perspective of a young child in a way that's very illuminating. I really loved it.
I think one of my favorite things about that novel, which is many things, but it's the title, because when you
Yes.
see it, you think it's going to be humorous, and then
Uh-huh.
towards the end, you realize what it means, and it's so heartbreaking. Which I
Yeah.
won't say what it is, but it's like a punch in the gut when you realize what it refers to.
Yeah. Okay. Next question comes from Erin.
I have read Milkman by Anna Burns, Say Nothing by Patrick Radden Keefe, and 2 books by Flynn Barry, all of which deal with the conflict in Northern Ireland. I would be really interested to hear about other authors whose books deal with this topic, either fiction or nonfiction.
Wow, that's a big question.
Yeah, I know.
I
Just
would
generally.
say one of my favorite novels about the Troubles is an I mean, I think it was written in the 80s. Maybe I'm wrong. It's Bernard McLaverty's Cal.
Oh,
I think I love Bernard McLaverty, and he writes really beautifully about the Troubles, about a young man who has been caught up in a terrible act, and
yeah.
he has at the outset of the novel got away with it, but it's increasingly begins to catch up with him for reasons that I won't disclose. But there's something very, very, it's a very sort of narrow lens on the Troubles, but it gives you a really, really clear-eyed vision of what it was actually like, I think, to live in Ulster during those years.
Well, I always recommend people read Milkman alongside Say Nothing or Say Nothing first and then Milkman, because if you don't know anything about the Troubles, which I know that's so odd for someone to like come into a book without an understanding of a massive societal like ongoing rupture that kept going. But I think that those two paired together are so effective because it gives you like this kind of almost journalistic understanding of like, oh, here's the view of like what happened from this like more distance view, and then the first person omniscient ongoing narrative of Milkman. And also Milkman is very funny in a way that obviously Say Nothing is not funny, and then you get like this larger picture of humanity by pairing those two
It's
together.
got a real pulse. The other thing I would really recommend is a collection of short stories by Leah Din Quinn, which is called Everyone's Still Here. And it's a debut collection, and they are a very young author. I think they were born after the Good Friday Agreement.
Wow.
And they are the most incredible stories. I don't know what on earth they've been eating, but it's very, very good because they kind of really, really take no prisoners. The stories are about kind of trauma and recovery, and there's a long list. The last story details the actual real names and circumstances of innocent civilians who were murdered by the British Army, mostly shot in the street. And it's very unflinching, and it gives you a very amazing insight into modern Northern Ireland.
Even taking short stories as like the approach just seems like such a different way than we usually see it narrativized, and that sounds amazing.
I can't recommend them highly enough. They're absolute brilliant. I think they're a genius, this writer.
The Culture Study podcast is sponsored by Article. Melody, I woke up to like a text from you looking at this new piece of really gorgeous outdoor furniture.
Ugh, I want it so bad. And this is I don't know how to pronounce it, but like the Pilou, Pilou outdoor swivel chair. It's this gorgeous wooden frame with really deep cushions. And I was looking at the dimensions and it looks wide enough for my butt, very important, but also deep enough to truly relax in.
Right, because so much outdoor furniture is like, oh, you want to put like half your butt cheek on it. Mm-hmm. And then like sit straight and not relax and not be able to.
You can't really cross your legs. And,
Or like tuck your leg up or something like that. Like it's just not, it's not actually comfortable. It's just like an uncomfortable chair situated outside. It is gorgeous. I could never have it because the cushions would just get soaked, but you live in the perfect climate for it. It's all I want in life is for you to get this.
Oh, and the cushions are water resistant and UV resistant.
Love it. Article also has great covers that perfectly fit all of their furniture. It's very easy to buy them on the site instead of having to figure out like, oh, is this going to fit? Is it going to be baggy? Is it going to have like all these pools of water in it? Like, love their covers very much. And I also like, this is something that we always talk about is that Article stuff is high quality. It's long lasting. You're never like, which of these 17 different furniture sets that look the same is actually the highest quality? Like, you know, because they chose it, that it's great stuff. Melody and I both own tons of Article stuff, and we love every single piece that we have. They also have fast, affordable shipping and assembly, and there's always support when you need it, 7 days a week. They also have a 30-day satisfaction guarantee so that you can shop with confidence, knowing that if you're not completely in love with your new furniture, you can easily return it. So if you're in the market for a beautiful new sofa, a full-length mirror, that's my latest purchase, a new queen-size bed, a dining table, or beautiful outdoor furniture, go to article.com. Today's episode is sponsored by ZocDoc. So I know that my life can sometimes feel like a big, huge puzzle, constantly trying to fit all of the pieces together of like my career, my hobbies, my relationship, my friendships, my dogs, my finances, the weekly thread on culture study, and of course, your healthcare. It is a lot. But finding care shouldn't be the trickiest piece to fit into everything else going on. ZocDoc makes it easy to find and book an appointment with a doctor you love. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states. So whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, or one of 200 plus specialties offered on ZocDoc, you can easily search by specialty or symptom to build the care team that's right for you. If you want to see your doctor in person, you can check a little box for that. If you'd prefer a video visit, you can do that too. And you can view thousands of verified patient reviews. And when you've found your doctor, you can see their real-time availability and click to book instantly. No phone tag, no weird phone trees where you just keep pressing the button over and over again and they keep like sending you back. No waiting around. And appointments made through ZocDoc happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. I love how I'm bringing Brandy Carl into basically every advertisement, but I tweaked my back slightly from sitting on the ground for many hours like an old person at a large arena concert. And if it were to get worse, it's getting better. But if it were to get worse, I'd have to figure out a quick appointment because maybe I couldn't get into my primary care doctor. So then I would go to ZocDoc and just put in everything that I'm looking for, my insurance information, a PT who deals specifically with whatever that I'm looking for. You can find it. So stop putting off your own doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/culture to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/culture. ZocDoc.com/culture. Thanks, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this message. Next question comes from another listener named Aaron, which is fitting.
Hi, Maggie. I love your work. I've also read and loved Ordinary Saints by Niamh Novlione, The Bee Sting by Paul Murray, and The Rachel Incident by Caroline O'Donoghue. I like messy families, complicated relationships, and ambiguous endings. Plot is definitely secondary for me. Thanks.
I'm going to go on a slight limb now and recommend a book which is set in ancient Greece.
Oh, yeah.
But it's by an Irish writer called Ferdia Lennon. And I absolutely love this book. It's called Glorious Exploits, and it's about two young guys in ancient Greece and in Syracuse, and it's shortly after the war, and they have there are kind of prisoners of war all waiting in a quarry, and they decide that they're going to put on a production of Euripides, and they're going to get the prisoners to star in it. But what's so incredible about it, and it completely works, and it makes me laugh every time, is that the two of them talk like lads from Limerick. So, but it's so it's an amazing kind of, it's a weird disconnect because you're in ancient Greece, and I think Ferdier Lennon, the writer, is a kind of expert in ancient Greece, so he really knows his stuff.
Yeah.
But they like lads from Limerick, so it's a brilliant disconnect. But it somehow it really works, and it's extraordinarily moving and brilliant, and also very, very funny. I mean, given that the subject is kind of prisoners of war and art, it's very funny, but also very moving. So I think it's so unusual, but so brilliant.
I love that. Mine is very different. It's The Forgotten Waltz by Anne Enright. Have you read that one?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've read everything that Anne Enright could possibly publish. I love her.
That book, it's very sexy, and then it becomes very ambiguous in like the way life does, not in like a sexy and then like tragedy. It's more like there's an affair. This is not a spoiler. There's an affair, and then what happens when you actually like get married to the person you have an affair with, essentially.
Yeah.
But I love, there's a strong sense of interiority in this one. And I just thought it was very beautifully wrought. And yeah, there's plot, like in terms of there's an affair and there's a breakup, but it is also very much about dealing with a feeling. Like what's the aftermath of a feeling and when you act on it, that sort of thing. So. Okay, next question. This is from Bryn.
I'd love to have some recommendations of books translated from Gaelic or that play with language and translation. I loved A Ghost in the Throat by Doreen Negrifa, which kind of gets at this, as does the band Kneecap. Perhaps Milkman by Anna Burns would be another way of thinking about this, or Brian Friel's play, Translations.
Oh, that's a big question. I
know.
I love Flann O'Brien's novel, but I think one of my favourite poets who wrote in Irish is Nuala Ní Donal. Her poetry's been translated by Med McGuckian and Seamus Heaney, Paul Muldoon, and interestingly, she was born in England to Irish parents, but they spoke Irish at home. But then she did go and live in Ireland later in her life. And she's written a brilliant poem called The Language Issue, which explains, she kind of sets out her decision not to write in English. It's really wonderful. All her work is really fascinating. This kind of, she explores the kind of duality of her identity, having been born in England, but Irish being her mother tongue, which I think is pretty for people born in Britain.
Right.
She's really wonderful.
Have you noticed? So I have A Ghost in the Throat on my pile forever. I've been really wanting to read it. And there is something that people, like, what do you think happens when a book is written in Irish and then translated? Like, is there a particular alchemy that you get?
I think so. I mean, I think with all translations, a huge amount depends on who's translating,
Right.
And I think, I think a lot of writers are people who are, in a sense, have 2 feet in 2 camps, and they are observers. And maybe that the kind of slippage between languages gives you that. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to generalize, I think.
Did Seamus Heaney ever write in Gaelic?
Not as far as I know.
I don't think so.
His wife, Marie Heaney, she wrote an amazing collection she rewrote a lot of Irish myths, which is one of my favourite versions of Irish folklore.
Oh, I love that. What's it called?
Over 9 Waves, and also The Names Upon the Harp. And she's translated all these the several cycles of Irish myth, and with heroes and battles, and they're wonderful, really amazing. And if any of your readers ever go to Northern Ireland, please go to the Seamus Heaney Centre. It is so incredible. It's one of my favourite places. It's in this really beautiful building, and you can see his very famous duffel coat, among other things. But one of the things that I always look at whenever I'm there is not only his fountain pen, which I love, but they have a display of the different drafts of some of his poems and his amendments and his reworkings. And that is just absolute catnip. I can't stop looking at it. And you can see the kind of mechanics of his genius.
So I took my first class in Irish Lit. I was a sophomore in college, and the teacher was this old, from Irish family. He was probably in his 70s, built like a boxer. He loved Seamus Heaney so much. And when the college arranged to have Seamus Heaney come speak, like it was like the culmination of his life. He was like, this is, and he was able to impart that love to me at that age. Like, and also just all the layers that are going on in Seamus Heaney's poetry. Like, and I knew so little about Irish history, and I learned so much through reading Seamus Heaney in like a wonderful way. I didn't bring him up earlier because sometimes I wonder if he's like so overdetermined as like the Irish poet that it's almost annoying. Do you feel that way or no?
Oh no! I mean, he's famous for a very good reason.
Exactly. That's how I feel. I'm like I have his collection, Open Ground. Like, it's one of the few books from college that has always moved like through all of the moves with me. It still has like the little thing from the college bookstore, and it's all my marginalia and everything in it. It's very precious to me.
Good. Yeah, may it stay that way. Yeah, I don't think someone should be penalised for being good at their job.
Okay, this one's from Victoria, and I can't wait for your answer on it.
I'm in a nun/weird Catholic phase, despite not being religious, and absolutely adored Ordinary Saints by Neem Alone. Do you have any more recommendations for Irish literature that takes this topic for a contemporary spin?
As it happens, I do. I would recommend Hagstone by Sinead Gleeson, which is about a young artist who travels to live in a religious community. It's an amazing novel, and again, it's quite sort of in the vein of Emma Donoghue, I would think, but it surprises you. It's not what you expect, and it certainly examines at very, very close quarters the Catholicism in modern Ireland and religious communities, and so maybe that would be up your street.
There is just so much to mine there. Like, and even, you were referencing like was it your great grandfather who became a Jesuit and then went back to, like so much. What are the options that are open for women to live the way that they want to live? Like sometimes it's like freedom and confinement almost, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what Gleeson does so brilliantly is lay alongside, I think that there's an awareness that, the Irish paganism is one of the best preserved Celtic societies and beliefs, and you can kind of almost see them coexisting in modern Ireland. And I think she addresses that issue very, very beautifully in this novel.
Wonderful. So for our last 3 questions, we're going to turn to genre fiction, and this will be today's Ask Anne Anything. So if you want our recommendations for Irish mysteries, romances, and fantasies, head to patreon.com/culturestudy and sign up. This has been such a pleasure, everything that we imagined and more. If people want to find more from you, where's the best place that they can follow for more news, for everything?
There is an Instagram account. I have to confess, I don't write it. But
that's great.
Occasionally, once in a while, I do post pictures of my cat. So, I think it's called Maggie O'Farrell Official, which sounds really strange, doesn't it? But that's is it handle? You call it handle, don't you? My teenagers will be hard to listen to me. Yeah, I, as you can probably tell, I don't really use social media, but there is an account which has lots of stuff on it.
Wonderful. And everyone, we will link prominently for land all over the place. I am totally in love with it, and I can't wait to finish. So thank you again for coming on the pod.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Culture Study Podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts because we have so many great episodes in the works, and I promise you don't want to miss any of them. If you want to suggest a topic, ask a question about the culture that surrounds you, or submit a question for our subscriber-only advice time segment, go to our Google form at tinyurl.com/culturestudypod or check the show notes for a link. And if you want to support the show and get bonus content, head to patreon.com/culturestudy. It's $5 a month or $50 a year, and you'll get ad-free episodes, an exclusive advice time segment, and weekly discussion threads for each episode. The Culture Study Podcast is produced by me, Anne Helen Peterson, and Melody Rowell. Our music is by Poddington Bear. You can find me on Instagram at Anne Helen Peterson, Melody at Melodious47, and the show at Culture Study Pod.